Hello and welcome to Arsenal Analysed. I'm JC. I hope you're doing well. Today I bring you tactical analysis on Leeds 0, Arsenal 1, a game that pretty much had everything. Not the best watch for us Arsenal fans. A very, very nervy second half to say the least, but we'll be breaking it down nevertheless. And if you are looking forward to it, go ahead and smash that like button. Subscribe if you're new around here. And before we get into the tactical board, just a few thoughts on the starting lineup. So only two real surprises in my opinion, and that was Tomiyasu at left back and Jesus up top. Tomiyasu, I thought he would be on the bench today. I did think that Kieran Tierney would get the nod, as I did explain in my preview. When we played Liverpool last, Tomiyasu playing at left back, a naturally right-footed player, forcing Salah down the width of the pitch. He's left-footed and likes to come inside. Definitely felt like more of a tactical decision. So Kieran Tierney is something that we'll have to keep an eye on. Maybe Arteta doesn't quite fancy him as much as he once did due to those injury problems. I'm a big fan of Kieran Tierney, and he offers something very different to the likes of Tomiyasu and Zinchenko. So maybe I'm overthinking it, and it shouldn't be a concern. Jesus obviously picked up a potential concussion against Liverpool, wasn't pictured in training to the build-up to this game. Maybe there was something still there prior to the kick-off, but happy times because he did get the nod. As mentioned, I did have Nketiah playing up top for my preview. With regards to subs, Odegaard and White, I can see why they came off. They did fizzle out a little bit in that second half, and I can see maybe a little bit of fitness or fatigue. There's a lot of games happening at the moment. They didn't quite look themselves in that second half. Holding coming on for Saka. We know that why that happens. Holding comes on to see out games. And likewise with Jesus coming off for Nketiah, probably very, very tired. Nketiah needs those minutes. Is a sub that Arteta always seems to go to regardless of fitness. With regards to match stats, XG for Arsenal certainly on the low end. And I think the main reason there is Leeds really took the game by the scruff of the neck, especially in that second half. An absolute bombardment of shots, 16 in total, XG at just over 2. There were times when I was watching the game and I just thought, how have Leeds not scored? When luck is on your side, or maybe the minerals, it really is on your side. No other real surprises there with regards to the other stats. But let's have a quick look now at that tactical board. How did both teams set up in possession when defending and when attacking? So as you can see here on screen with both Arsenal and Leeds, let's start with Leeds. Very much a lot of the time, Leeds were set up, in my opinion, in a very narrow 4-3-3 when Arsenal had the ball in their own half. When Arsenal were sort of maybe knocking it around at the back, Leeds would press in this type of formation here. Now, when Arsenal went out to the right-hand side, we would often see either Harrison or Roca come out here to make a 4 when pressing, or when the ball came out to the other side, it was either Adams or Harrison making up those numbers. So it felt like there was always a sort of front 4 and looking to counter in more of a 4-2-4 formation as such, really pushing on the wings because we know Arsenal like to double up out wide with Odegaard coming in here with those wide rotations, and likewise on the left-hand side with Xhaka, Martinelli and Tomiyasu. Now, when they did attack on the other hand, though, it really did feel like they were attacking as a front 4. Most of the time we would see Rodrigo and Aronson in there, Siniesta, and then we would see this. We would see sometimes it would be this when we're hit on the counter-attack, that 4-2-4 that I mentioned, but then other times it would be a 2-4-4 going forward. And it really did pin Arsenal back. It really did hurt Arsenal. We would see these players, there were 6 at times, really pinning Arsenal back, making it very, very difficult. So that was what it looked like for Leeds, both sort of in possession and out of possession. Let's have a look at what Arsenal looked like when we weren't in possession. Arsenal were very much setting up in their usual 4-4-2, as we've come to see. There were times where we did see Thomas Partey drop into this position, and it would be more of a 4-1-4-1 for Arsenal. And Arsenal were getting overloaded out wide quite often, in my opinion. Arsenal, when in possession, we did have that usual Granit Xhaka playing in the half space on the left, Martinelli playing outside of him, and we had Saka on the right-hand side. Sometimes there would be an actual 6 attackers, with Ben White often getting down this line. We saw that quite often in the Liverpool game, and then we would see occasionally that 2-3-5. Pushing them back, it's something that we saw quite a lot in that first half. There were even occasions when Ben White was making up the 6. What we saw is Tomiyasu coming in here as a sort of 2-2-6 formation. Because Arsenal were overloading quite heavily here, what happened was it forced these players back into these positions, making it difficult for Leeds to counter in that first half at the very least. Now, Tomiyasu playing here maybe could be the reason why Kieran Tierney wasn't selected, because we often see Zinchenko playing in this position, that sort of inverted fullback, as a sort of an additional midfielder for overloads. In the second half, we also saw Jesus dropping this deep at times to create overloads in midfield because Arsenal were being overrun at times. But that might be the reason, as I said, why Kieran Tierney wasn't selected for this game. He was utilised in this position on a couple of occasions. He didn't look comfortable. And then when he was selected again moving forward, he was played more in this position. And since then, he hasn't really been used. So as I said, something worth keeping an eye on moving forwards. But to kind of further back up what we've just gone through on that tactical board, we have the average passing shape of both Leeds and Arsenal here on the left and the right-hand side. Starting with Leeds, we can see there those wing backs, if you will, really, really pushing wide. Number 21 and number 23, very, very close. And in that space where Ben White would be, and Ben White is a little bit more advanced. If you compare him to where Tomiyasu is on that left-hand side, he's tucked in a little bit more. There's not as much space between him and Gabriel. And that's why you can see the number 25 for Leeds very, very wide. And there's not as much going down there because it was difficult. Granit Xhaka sometimes tucking in that left half space. And then we can see number 19 and number 7, Aronson and Rodrigo, playing very, very close to each other. Although it was on paper a 4-2-3-1, and you would maybe associate him playing as a cam, it wasn't the case, because what we saw is we saw Harrison coming inside, playing behind those front two. And you can see in there at times there's 5 or 6 midfield players, and Arsenal really did get overrun. And if we have a look at Leeds here, the majority of their play for the graph in the very middle of the screen came down that left-hand side for them, which is where Ben White was. He was getting absolutely run ragged. And likewise with Arsenal, if we have a look, a lot of our play came down that right-hand side because Saka was up against number 21, their left back. He's not a natural left back. So Arsenal certainly looking to target that. And I think this is the first time since we started doing these tactical reviews on the channel that Odegaard is actually the furthest player forward and also very much on that right-hand side. So very, very interesting stuff. Great to break down. This is what I love when we look at these tactical analysis videos. But let's have a look at the very first goal of the game. We can see here on the left-hand side that initial arrow, that white arrow at the very bottom of the screen, which is where the ball's being played into, which is Rodrigo. Now, what makes this so bizarre is we can see here in the 3 yellow circles, there are 3 Leeds players who are available to receive the ball. A nice, tidy 5-6 yard pass. Yes, he's got a player coming in from the left. That's Granit Xhaka, and a player behind him in Gabriel. But I wouldn't say that he's under any serious immediate pressure and maybe take a touch, make the pass, or even make that pass first time. But instead, he tries to find the left back. Now, at the time of the ball going in, the left back isn't under any pressure, but because of the type of ball that it is, it allows Saka to challenge him. He wins the header. The ball eventually falls to Martin Odegaard, who plays a perfectly weighted pass into Saka. He hits it first time. Arsenal are 1-0 up in the first half, where we are playing some very, very good football, not really allowing Leeds too many opportunities. Obviously, as the game unfolded, it was a very, very different story. But this could have been so much worse for Leeds. Arsenal could have piled on that pressure and made it 2 or 3. Obviously, halftime came and Jesse March said whatever he said to get these boys fired up. Now, there are 4 incidents that I'd like to talk about. There was one just after halftime. We can see here in the top left-hand corner, a nudge in the back of Gabriel. The ball did hit the back of the net after this from Bamford. It was eventually given as a free kick, goal disallowed. Let me know down in the comments below. Likewise, with all of these major key talking points, do you agree with the decisions that were made by the referee for all 4? Next up, we had Saliba. This, for me, was a little bit more clear-cut. The ball travelled quite a long way. Arms aren't necessarily in a natural position. So under the new laws of handball, I can certainly see why this was given. Not too sure why this wasn't given in real time. I can only assume that the referee's vision was blocked by the Leeds player because the actual play did go on for quite a while after this. And then finally, beyond the 90th minute, Arsenal really holding on at this point. Gabriel was sent off and a penalty was given. This is heart in your mouth type stuff. It was reviewed by VAR and it was given as a foul on Gabriel because, as we can see here in the bottom left-hand picture, there is a foul committed by Bamford initially, which knocks Gabriel to the ground. At the time, the linesman thought that Gabriel had kicked out, hence why a red card was given. So plenty of madness, all of this unfolding in the second half just to make it that much more difficult for us Arsenal fans to endure. But as I said, let me know down in the comments below with regards to each of these incidents. And then finally, we've got some top statistics from those Arsenal players on the left-hand side. By all means, pause the video at this point and go through them at your own pace. We won't be going through those individually because I do want to speak about my man of the match. And from what I saw on social media, it seems as though a lot of people share the same opinion. Aaron Ramsdale was absolutely phenomenal today, in my opinion. Yes, I've included his heat map. I don't know why. It's not really much to see. If he'd maybe gone beyond his 18-yard box, it could have been a bit more of a funny heat map to review. But I'd imagine that's how most goalkeeper heat maps look each and every week. But yes, he completed 90 minutes, 4 saves, some of which were top saves. There were one in the first half where the ball was bobbling around after a corner. Top stuff. 2 punches from set pieces. Distribution could have been a little bit better. Only 64% of his passes were completed and only 6 of his long balls. But normally, more often than not, his distribution is absolutely spot on. But I just think in a game of this nature, the crowd were right up for it. Maybe it got the better of him. But do you know what? If his distribution is going to be poor and he's going to be making saves like this and dominating his box the way he did, then so be it. Coming into some great form at the right time for him with the World Cup coming up as well. But let me know down in the comments below, was Aaron Ramsdale your man of the match as well, or was it someone else? Please do let me know. That is going to about wrap things up for the latest episode of Tactical Analysis. Arsenal are still top of the league. Come on, you Gunners. Drop a like if you've enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new around here. Notification bell button on. Thank you very much. But for now, I'm JC, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe and take care.